Yep, that's me. 7 years old and filled with joy. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight, choosing joy. For me, joy is the feeling that comes from deep in your gut when you allow yourself to celebrate and appreciate the gift that is your life. Let me repeat that. Joy is the feeling that comes from deep in your gut when you celebrate and appreciate the gift that is your life. And to illustrate what I mean by this, I want to cite a few pivotal moments from my own life. Here's me again. At 17, I wasn't just a skinny kid going through an awkward phase. I was sick, really sick. About 3 months after this picture was taken, I almost died from ulcerative colitis. For those of you who aren't familiar with colitis, it's a perforation of the colon and the small intestine that's similar to an ulcer. I was in excruciating pain. I was losing massive amounts of blood with every bowel movement, having incredible trouble keeping food down, and too afraid to tell anyone how horrible the pain really was. Now, colitis is considered to be a psychosomatic illness. I remember the first time that word was tossed around after I was diagnosed in my late teens. My brother said to me, "Hey, you know what psychosomatic means, don't you? It means it's all in your head. They think you're making this up to get attention." So I would be lying there in bed, feeling this intense pain and thinking, what's wrong with me? Why am I so insane? And finally, quietly, I admitted to myself I got sick because I didn't want to have to go to gym class. It's true. See, I'm the middle kid in a family of 3 boys. My older and younger brothers were both star athletes. I was the one they called Spaz, the one who liked to draw and write, go to movies and see plays. And so then the message I was getting from multiple places was, okay, then that must mean you're gay. The more I tried to digest that information, the more confused I got. All right, I'm not a jock. I'm into movies. I must be gay. But then how come I like girls? All right, obviously, I'm just a freak who doesn't fit in anywhere. It would probably be better for everybody if I made myself sick enough to die. But I also knew I didn't want to die. And I knew that if I was going to survive, I had to make a change of course. I had to choose life, and I had to choose joy. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever had times where you felt less than in some way? When you focus on everything that's wrong and different and lacking in your life, instead of deciding to appreciate and celebrate your strengths? Yeah, me too. So, wanting to make that change, wanting to figure out what to do, I had to figure out how I could find the light, how I could choose joy. And for me, a lot of the joy in my childhood came from being at the movies. I was particularly a big fan of the Disney movies. You know, the classics, Shaggy Dog, Absent-Minded Professor, Swiss Family Robinson, Parent Trap. I loved them all. And what I loved was they were about wacky adventures in magical places, flying cars, ostrich races, but they were also about family and friends who came together to be there for each other in the end. When I was 12 years old, my family made a summer pilgrimage to California, spending 2 weeks in Los Angeles. A friend of my dad's hooked us up with a backlot VIP tour of the Walt Disney Studios, something that wasn't available to the general public. We got to tour the sets for Mary Poppins and many of those other touchstone movies of my childhood. I have a really distinct memory of walking down that street of facades, taking it all in and feeling this incredible rush of exhilaration. I loved everything about being there. I was in heaven. It felt like home. And it was on that day, being on that lot, taking it all in, that I decided I was going to grow up, move to Hollywood, and write movies that made people, and especially kids, feel the same way that I felt watching those Disney movies. And that's exactly what I did. I went to college back east. I moved to Los Angeles. I worked at a newspaper for 18 months. And all the while, I was writing scripts and sending them out to agents. Finally, I did get representation. And this didn't happen overnight, but slowly but surely, I started getting hired by people like Steven Spielberg and Garry to write films and television shows for them. It was a really wonderful and joyous career. And along the way, I got to write for some of my favorite stars, my childhood crush Hayley Mills, Danny DeVito, Shia LaBeouf, Sarah Jessica Parker. I was having a very, very good time for quite a while. So, then how did I go from the corridors of Disney to the halls of academia? In 2006, things were slowing down for me after 30 years as a film and television writer. The jobs I was getting offered weren't very exciting. I wasn't the new kid in town or the freshest face around. And the whole thing was kind of beating the joy right out of me. At the same time, my father-in-law was dying of cancer, my son was going off to college, and it started to feel like everything in my life was about loss. Now, knowing that my colitis had been quiet for quite a while and not wanting it to kick up again, I had to make a course correction. I mean, how can you not believe in the incredible connection between the mind and the body when you look at the very word that connotes illness, disease, dis-ease? Until we find ease with ourselves, how can we possibly see the joy in the world? If we don't expel the darkness, we don't have room to let in the light. So the question I was asking myself is, all right, it's course correction time again. Where do I go and what do I do to find that light and joy once again? And along with my writing career, I had also been teaching one class a year at the Peter Stark producing program at USC, and I was really enjoying it. One night after class, my wife said to me, you're a really good guy. You deserve to be happy. And the thing that seems to be giving you the most joy right now is teaching. Maybe you need to be doing more of that. Teaching equals joy. Choose it. So I did some research. I found a posting for a position for a professor in screen and television writing here at UC Riverside. And the day I saw that ad was the day I said, I'm going to get that job. And I did. A couple years after I was hired, I was speaking in our department's introductory class that's mandatory for all our freshmen and incoming transfer students. I talked about my life and times in the entertainment industry and what I wanted to do as a teacher. And then when it came time for the Q&A portion of the class, one excited student said to me, hey, I don't really have a question for you, but hearing that you wrote The Land Before Time and all those Disney Channel movies, I'm really excited that I'm going to get to take classes with you. I mean, dude, you wrote my childhood. And boom, that incredible rush that I felt at 12 years old was back again. The day I was there on the Disney lot, deciding that I wanted to write movies for people and kids that made them feel like those Disney movies made me, was the day that brought me around to having to be able to be in that class and hearing that I had done exactly that for a whole new generation of kids. I mean, come on. How cool is that? Following my path to joy allowed me to achieve exactly what I set out to do. So, another question for you. Are you having trouble finding joy in your life? Do you have times where you feel like you're too old to choose joy? Please don't. Make a change. Shake things up. Scare yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. Choose joy. And one happy coincidence that kind of put me on this path to knowing that it's what I wanted to do with my life happened in 1991. Two films came out back to back, and they both really pissed me off. One of them was Regarding Henry, starring Harrison Ford, and the other was The Doctor, starring William Hurt. Regarding Henry was about a nasty SOB who got shot in the head and then decided he wanted to become a good guy. The Doctor was about a nasty SOB surgeon who got throat cancer, suddenly had to be on the other side of things, and then, by the predictable Hollywood ending, you got it, decided to become a nice guy. So, why did those movies make me so mad? Because you don't have to wait to get shot in the head or to get cancer before you can start acting like a decent, loving human being who has the right to choose joy. The other reason that I think joy is different than happiness is because there can be moments of joy even in sadness if you allow yourself to be open to it. Case in point, my dad lived to be 86 years old. He survived 2 quintuple bypass surgeries, multiple other medical challenges along the way. He was married to my mom for 64 years, he raised 3 sons, and he died 1 month after having a heart attack. I got to be there in the hospital with him that whole last day, along with my wife and my mother. Late in the afternoon, my son came by for a while. And the remarkable thing was, my dad spent that entire day taking care of business. He told me where his coin collection was hidden. He asked me to take care of my mom, who had dementia. At one point, he called my son over to the bed and told him what a terrific grandson he'd been, and asked him to tell his sisters and his cousin the same thing. Late in the afternoon, he slipped off his wedding ring, he handed it to me, and he said, "I'm ready to take the next trip." An hour later, 5 minutes after we all stepped out to get dinner, he died, exactly the way he wanted to. And along with all the sadness and the incredible sense of loss, there also was a joy in having gotten to share that day with him, having to be there, seeing him so at peace and ready to go. And knowing that and experiencing that is why I say the joy is the feeling you get when you allow yourself to appreciate and celebrate the gift that is your life. So here's what I'm going to ask. If we can all agree that joy is appreciating and celebrating your life, then please do me a favor. Don't wait to get shot in the head. Choose joy.